everybody. Welcome back to Allison Unfiltered. Oh my gosh, so much has happened, right? So very much has happened in the last week since, actually the last few weeks. We did not have a podcast last week because we were in Vegas for our conference with Xyngular. It was incredible. There were some really hard things that were talked about, and that's kind of what I want to touch on today. I don't have much makeup on because I know there's going to be tears in this, so I just really would prefer mascara not streaming down my face. You know, I was asked to be in a video from Stephanie Miller, who is an incredible woman in our company. And part of the video, I'm just diving right into this too, right? So part of the video, not part of it, the whole video depicted people that have had trauma, right? And it's people that are top leaders in our company that we've had the trauma, but despite the trauma, we push forward. And I was in that video holding a piece of paper that said I was addicted to cocaine. And that's not something that, I mean, unless you've listened to my podcast, you don't really know that about me, right? Especially the people in the company. They don't really know that. So does it make me wonder what people think or what they thought when they saw that? Like, were they shocked because they haven't listened to the podcast? You know? I don't know. It's the hard things, right? How do I have the personality that no matter what's going on in life, no matter what's hard in life, I can get up and do what I need to do. And some people just don't have that ability. And I don't understand those people who don't have that ability because I do have that ability, right? Probably something I need to work on more with other human beings is empathy. I empathize, but I don't understand why they can't do it too. So, gosh, there's so much I want to talk about that it's like scrambling in my head. So when we were at the event, there was a girl that came up to me, and her name's Brenda. And, hey, Brenda, if you're listening, I had no idea that she knew anything about my podcast. And she said to me, do you remember the first time that you spoke? And this resonated with me so much. So Brenda, thank you for telling me this. She said, do you remember the first time that you spoke in Long Beach as a silver director? And I said, no, well, yes, I remember the speech. She said, do you remember how scared you were and how shaking? And I was like, yes, I totally remember that. I was scared to death. It was the first time I was up in front of people talking. And she said, I want you to know. And she held out her hands and she started shaking her hands. And she said, you went from this, right, scared, to this, like no fear at all. And she like pointed at me when she said that, you know, because I spoke on stage last year at our event and freaking killed it, even though I was scared to death still, and my feet were slippery in my shoes because I forgot to put deodorant on my feet. Ladies, listen, that's a little trick, just so you know. If you have somewhere to be and it's going to be, you know, it's going to be hot, put some deodorant on your feet and they won't slip and slide in your strappy sandals. Just little side note. But Brenda said to me, she said, I've watched you grow, and she said, I'm so proud of the things that you've done and how you put it out there and made yourself so vulnerable to people and just not even caring what people think and just rolling through it. And that's the thing, is I do care about what people think to a fault, but I'm doing this scared anyway. And that was another thing too, that, you know, I could be one of those people, like there could be a room of 200 people. And if there's 2 people in that room that don't like me, I'm going to worry more about those 2 people than the 198 in there that think I'm fantastic, right? It's just my personality. So Brenda, thank you for that. I just want to throw that out there because I know you listened to the podcast and I had no idea. You know, it's really cool when people come up to you and they want to take their picture with you because your stories inspired them or your weight loss has inspired them. And it's almost like a celebrity status, which is weird, right? Because I'm just me. But people know who I am, and I can't remember everybody's names. It's not possible. But you've heard my story, y'all. I'm just a girl from Tyler, Texas that just saw something in a company and wanted more, you know? And there's been some things that have been happening, you know, and like I said, we're talking about the hard things. So what was hard about that, what I just talked about, was like putting that piece of paper up there that I was addicted to cocaine. I mean, even my kids were really surprised, you know. And there's some other hard things that happened. There's some really great things that happened. A couple of people on my team were nominated for some extremely honorable business builder awards. And I take great pride in knowing that I helped those people accomplish that because I've been mentoring them. And that's a really cool feeling to know that you're helping someone grow and make a difference in their lives as well. And I think that's what this is all about, right? It's just making a difference in people's lives. I want to bring value to the table, right? Not just weight loss and feeling better, but, you know, doing better financially and providing for your family better and doing all the things. And I don't normally talk a lot about Xyngular on here because, you know, it's a vehicle to get me to where I am, but it's so much of what I love too. And it's so much of people that I love that I want to help more people. So, next thing. That's hard. Actually, you know, sometimes God works in really mysterious ways, and I have a very strong tie to Australia and my family and friends that are there, and I call them my family. We're not blood related, but they're my family, you know. And I have a very strong tie to these people. And just the country, even though I've never been, it's just one of those places that's on my bucket list. It's awe-inspiring, right? And so I tell you that because there was a lady that reached out to me. We became friends on Facebook, and you know, I always am growing my social media. And I sent her a message, you know, thank you for accepting my friend request. I look forward to getting to know you. And we talked back and forth, and come to find out that she's a life coach, right? And she wanted to visit with me, and obviously, you know, she has a job to do. This is her job too. And it was, you know, just the right timing. And when I got on a Zoom with her for the first time, she spoke, and like my heart just like hitched, right? It was like I don't know. I can't describe it as like coming home, right? She is in Australia. She has an Australian accent. It's like talking to my mom over in Australia, you know? Um, it was just, I don't know, there was just a gut that that's where I needed to be. So I've been talking to her for several weeks now, almost the past month, really. And it's something I'm going to continue with. But, you know, there were some hard moments at Zingfling. And, you know, there were people that I was around. You remember the story of what happened in Florida and my upline that's there. And, you know, she approached me while we were there, and she's like, oh, you know, where were you? And, um, you know, and she was just like, we need to bury the hatchet. And I was like, well, I think it'd be great if we could have a conversation. She's like, no, I don't think we need to talk about it. We just need to, you know, move past it. And I'm like, that's just, you know, that's not how I work. And, you know, you're not the one that's been in therapy over this, right? And and that's the hard thing too, is because people don't understand, like, oh, well, nothing happened to you. You weren't injured. No, I wasn't injured, but my heart was broken. And that's the same thing. Maybe it's even a little worse. I don't know. So, working through these things, and but I'm really proud of myself and this lady that I've been talking to. I mean, like God works in perfect timing, right? I'm sitting in this top performer forum, and I'm with some of these people, and she just sends me a message about, don't forget who you are, and how valued you are for yourself, and don't worry about what how other people value you. Just worry about you. And it was like perfect timing. And I was like, oh my God, somebody has my back. Now, let me tell you this. My husband always has my back, but my husband is a fixer, right? And he likes to fix the problems and come up with ways to fix it. And it's hard for him to listen because he wants to fix it. And sometimes as girls, we just need to talk it out. We need to talk about what's happening and what we're struggling with, and just like talk it out. We don't need somebody to fix it. And so, it was like, oh my God, there's someone else that has my back, right? Because one of the things that's interesting is they always talk about it's lonely at the top, and it's lonely at the top because you don't have someone above you like mentoring you. I do have a very close friend and mentor, but she doesn't do this as a business. She does this because it's fun and because she loves the people and she loves the community and things like that. She doesn't ever intend for this to be like a full-time gig for her, maybe when she's retired. But that's the thing. That's not her goal, right? Money's not her goal. And the business is my goal because it's what helps put food on the table for my family. And that business also drives great things for other people to happen too. As my business grows, other people's business grows. So it's a win-win situation, right? So to have someone with that kind of wisdom who's, she's quite a bit older than me, but she told me she's she's a recovering addict. She's a recovering control freak. And I said to her, I feel guilty for laying all of my burden on you. And she's like, oh, she said, but I have a great filtration system. She said, I just hand it right back over to God. I was like, wow, I want that. I want that ability to do that, right? Man, instead of internalizing it and carrying it all with you, just like filtrate it over to God. I mean, man, that was just like, I don't know, that was probably a life-changing comment that she made to me, to even think that that's even possible, that you can even do that and give up that much control, and it's no surprise I have an addictive personality. It's why I work my business the way I do, because I'm addicted to it, right? We as addicts throw our lives into whatever is the next thing. It's what we're in it 110,000%, right? That's just how we work. So if I'm doing drugs, I'm 100%. I'm high all the time, right? If I'm emotionally eating, it's 100%. I'm addicted to food all the time, and that's something I have to fight every day. But I'm looking forward to working with this woman, because I think that she can bring some peace to the table for me. So I think that's what I'm looking for more. And I want more, right? I want more than just this business and this podcast. I want to be a keynote speaker. I want to be able to get on a stage and tell my story one day. I mean, that's the end game, right? Is to be able to have a story of transformation so great that it impacts someone else's life and it changes them, even if it's just one person. So, throwing this out there, if you ever need a keynote speaker for something, I'm not a professional by any means, but I can damn sure tell a story. And I'll make sure I put deodorant on my feet for stage. So those have been like a couple of hard things and things that have happened this week and things that have been a struggle. And, but I was really proud of myself and how I handled things, because what I've come to realize is that at the end of the day, the people that hurt me aren't my friends. right? They're my business partners, and I can sit down and I can have a business conversation. I'm very emotional and emotionally intelligent that way, right? I can put everything to the side and have a business conversation with someone in the business, whether I like them or not, whether I'm friends with them or not, right? It doesn't matter. But what I've just come to realize is that I don't want friends like that. So people that hurt you aren't your friends, right? And maybe they feel the same way about me. They totally could. But one of them even asked someone, and of course it gets back to me, right? Is what's going on with Allison? Why she's been really cold to me lately? Well, why don't you ask me yourself? Well, because the reason is you know the answer, right? You know the answer. And you don't want to hear it from me. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't know if anybody listens or not. And, that's the thing too, is I want to say again, because I got into another conversation with someone else about this podcast, that it painted them in a bad light. And I need to say that this is not about anybody else but me. I'm not trying to paint anyone in a disparaging light. This is what I feel. This is how I feel about things, and how people have, how my perception is of others, right? And it may be messed up and it may be jacked up. It may not be right to you, but it's what's happening to me. So I just want to be clear. I'm not trying to make anybody look like an idiot or like they don't care about people, because as many things as how I perceive it, these people also have very great qualities about them. There's great things about them. But there's things that I hold on to personally that I struggle with. So that's on me, right? All right, so let's talk about the next hard thing. And this is probably, y'all might want to just grab a tissue now or turn it off or listen later or whatever. But most of you know that my grandmother passed away in October of last year, and it's been trying, right? I got my mother an apartment, and we got her moved in, and she's settled, and they've hired an estate company, an estate sale company, to come in and get the house ready for the estate sale. And I have avoided that house like the plague after we moved my mom out, because one of the things that my grandmother said, and it's the hardest thing to accept because you hear it over and over. She was born in the Depression era. They were rich, they had money. And she had a lot of things. Things were important to her. Her family was important to her, but her things were very important to her. She always was worried someone's going to steal from her, and that became a really big concern when she had dementia, was that she thought everyone was stealing from her. And the truth was that she was hiding things from herself and she couldn't find it. And I don't know if any of you have ever dealt with that in dementia, but bless it to you, because that is some hard shit to deal with, right? Because you can't convince them otherwise, right? So my grandmother had things. Things were important to her. And she had beautiful things. And the one thing she asked all of us is, she said, please don't sell all my stuff. Please don't let people walk through my home and pick through all of my stuff. Well, the problem with that is we are all grown-ups and we all have things. And like, if we kept all of her stuff, we would have a storage unit of stuff that would just sit there, right? And what do you do with all that stuff? We can't put all of that stuff in our home. That stuff filled up her entire 4-bedroom house, right? And every cabinet and every closet and every nook and cranny, because to a degree, she was a little bit of a hoarder as well. Oh gosh, she used to keep so many cans of food. And that comes back from her, being in the Depression era. But, and her and I talked about that and why she hoarded food and things like that. She was always scared they were going to run out. So the estate sale starts tomorrow, and I had a clear calendar yesterday and took the opportunity last night to go over to the house. And, I don't know how many more times before they sell that house. Because it'll go on the market in about 4 days after the estate sale's done. I don't know how much opportunity that I'm going to have to drive up to that house again. And it was an emotional drive from here to there. And it's only about a mile and a half maybe. Our kids used to ride their bikes over there and go to Taco Bell and get, a 7-layer burrito for her and take her lunch. It was her favorite thing. And so I drove up to the house. I put the key in the door. If you want to see the pictures of it, it's on my Facebook. Allison Judd Damscove is on my Facebook. You can look it up. And I went through, I took pictures of things that really meant something to me. And I put a comment with all of those pictures of this is why I remembered this, and this is what this is from, and this is where I used to sit, and all these things. And it was just like walking into the house was just, it smelled like her, right? And I even opened one of the cabinets that was my grandfather's cabinet and stuck my head in it just to smell it, because it smells, I'm telling you, he's been gone 35 years and that cabinet still smells like him. But I walked through the house room by room, and I was finding things that were jogging my memory, right? And I went and sat in my grandmother's room, and the house is just a disarray, right? All the beds are up against the wall and taken apart, and it's all disarray, and tables set up with all the estate sale stuff. And I was sitting in the chair, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I thought about my brother and him not being able to do this with me. So I called him. And the weird thing is, cell phones don't work in that house. There's no cell service. There's no nothing. It's terrible in that house. But that cell phone yesterday worked all over that house. And I walked through that house and I took pictures of stuff and I sent it to my brother, and we talked and we cried and we laughed and he probably stayed on the phone with me for almost an hour, because I was there for a couple of hours, but he stayed on the phone with me for almost an hour. And, I sat on the floor and I laid on the floor in the same place that I used to lay when I was little. And, I was sick, and I would stay home with her, and we would watch The Price is Right and then Young and the Restless, and she would fix me, Stouffer's macaroni and cheese in the toaster oven. She was a great, wonderful grandmother. And to know that, I've moved 33 times in my house, in my life, but that house has been there since I was born. I was a baby in that house. So many memories from that house, and that house has been the one constant in my whole life. The one home that's never changed, that's always been there, that I can always go to when I'm sad, that I can always go to in my dreams when I'm not safe. That house is my Nana and my Pawpaw's house. And I even lived there, from the time I was 16 to about 19, I lived there until I moved out into my own apartment. And so there's a lot of significance in that home. And I'll be happy for the people that buy it next, but I'll damn sure be that person that knocks on the door one day and says, hey, I grew up here and I'd love to see what you've done with the place, because, oh my gosh, the house was built in the 1950s and it still has, brown panel walls in the living room. It still has, the blue tile in the bathroom, and the peach tile, and the peach tub, and the peach toilet, and the, the turquoise tile in the kitchen. I mean, it still has all of the vintage stuff, right? And walking around there, you can't, once they have the inventory taken for the estate sale, you can't take anything out of the house. And there were things that I found walking through that I totally forgot about, things that I'd given her for her birthday or for Christmas. And there were only like 3 things, and there was one little stained glass that she always kept up in the windowsill above the sink in the kitchen, and it said, "Along the way, take time to smell the roses." And whenever I walked past that, it reminded me, because I go so fast all the time, right? I'm just balls to the wall all the time. And it reminds me every time I see it to just take a deep breath and slow down a little bit, and it's a great reminder. And I wish I had that. There was a little box that I gave her for her birthday that had a C on it because her first name is Coy. And I filled it with little miniature Milky Ways, because she loves Milky Ways. And, what do you get her when she's 90 something years old and she doesn't need anything, right? You get her something cute and you fill it with something that she loves, right? And she just thought that was adorable, and she set it on the kitchen counter and she loved it. And that's in the sale. And I can't take it, and I can't have it back. And the only thing that I can do is be there at 7:00 tomorrow morning and go buy it. Is that silly? Should I do it? I can't just take it, because I'm not going to be that person, right? Even though it belongs to me, it still belongs to the family, right? You can't take it. And I understand the legalities in that, because there was a contract signed and all that. So I understand that, and I'm not going to be that person. But man, I wanted to take those things so badly yesterday. But I didn't. I took pictures of them. And I'll have that memory. But that's hard. It's hard watching this house go away, and I knew it would be hard. But I guess I didn't realize that over the last several weeks I've just been in straight up denial. That this is going to happen, and this estate sale is going to happen. And here's the crazy shit, right? So on Saturday, when the sale is over, the family gets to come in, and we have 10, I'm not shitting you, 10 minutes to go through the house and keep whatever didn't sell. 10 minutes to go through the house and keep whatever didn't sell. And the rest gets loaded up and taken to the Salvation Army. All her stuff just becomes junk. All the things that were little pieces that had been in that house growing up. It's crazy, right? But I don't have room in my house for all that stuff. There's no way. I can't. I can make room for that little stained glass piece, though. Along the way, take time to smell the roses. So y'all don't forget that in your day, right? Don't forget that, because it's important. If we're spending so much time worrying about yesterday and tomorrow, how do we ever live in today? And I do that a lot, right? I don't live in today. I'm worried about tomorrow or next week or what's happening or what I need to do the next day, One of the most fond memories of that house is the kitchen table. And so help me, if I had somewhere to put that kitchen table, I would get it. But God bless it, it's the ugliest table on the planet, because it's from the 1950s, right? And maybe it's great for somebody who likes the Brady Bunch style, but not me. But that table doesn't fit anywhere but in that house to me. And so I sat at that table yesterday, and that was like the grown-up table, right? There was a kiddie table when we were little, and I finally one day made it to the grown-up table, and that was really cool. And my kids ended up at the kiddie table, and that was really cool. It's just like so many generations in that house. And so I took pictures of the table, and there's every Christmas and every Thanksgiving was spent until she was put in her assisted living. Every Christmas and every Thanksgiving was spent in that house or with our family around that table. It was a significance of our family. We played games at that table. We laughed at that table. We cried at that table. We held hands at that table. That table is the epitome of our family, right? And cousins and aunts and uncles, and we have an incredible family. And it's so sad that her passing away, that my grandmother passing away, has broken our family to pieces. We don't get together for Christmas and Thanksgiving anymore. The family's very divided. And it's sad. It's really sad. But today, I called my best friend Kelly crying and just told her how sad I was, and that would it be crazy if, I've been working on myself, working on, eating right and doing good, and I'm at the lowest weight I've been in a really long time. Like, I'm right on the edge of busting through a plateau that I've been wanting to bust through for a long time. And right there. And all I want to do is, when I was little, my grandfather would drive me through McDonald's and he would get me a Happy Meal. And I would sit at that table with a Happy Meal on a paper plate with cold Heinz ketchup. And I know that doesn't mean anything to you guys, but it means the world to me. Like, I don't want McDonald's ketchup. They never got us ketchup there. We always had ketchup. We had ketchup at home, right? So the Heinz ketchup, the paper plate, the Happy Meal, the cheeseburger, the whole 9 yards. I eat McDonald's about once a year out of I love it because I'm a foodie and I have the palate of a 6-year-old. But I don't allow myself to eat stuff like that anymore, or very often. But I asked my best friend, I said, am I crazy to want to go sit at that table and eat a Happy Meal for the last time, because that table's going to be gone in a few days. It's for sale. And do I want to tear myself up with that, or will I regret not doing it? And she said, you know what? She said, I'll go get the McDonald's and I'll meet you over there and I'll sit at the table with you and have that last meal at that table. And that means the world to me, Kel. I know you don't ever watch these, and that's okay, because you already know my whole life story. You already know all of this. So that's what I'm going to do here in a few hours. I'm going to go sit at that table, and I'm going to take a Dixie paper plate, and I'm going to take my cold Heinz ketchup, and I'm going to eat my last Happy Meal at that table today. And if the scale goes up, then whatever, it goes up. I'll fix it. But how can I miss out on that opportunity, right? And it'd probably be really great to drown my emotions in a McDonald's Happy Meal, because I'm an emotional eater. So these are the hard things that are happening right now. And I've been struggling, right? I'm struggling with content for this podcast. I really thought that there would be more people that would reach out, that would want to tell their story and their story of struggle and trauma and things like that. And I realize people are scared and they don't want to tell their story. But let me tell you how unbelievably effing freeing it is for you to tell your story. There's just a weight that's lifted off your shoulders. And so if you have a story of success or transformation or recovery or overcoming, whatever it may be, right? I would love for you to share your story here. I would absolutely love it. I think it would be incredible. So please reach out to me if you have something to share, that you've been listening and you want to, you want to be a part of making a change in someone else's life, because that's what this is about, is stories of transformation. And it's also stories about how to get through the hard stuff, right? Along the way, take time to smell Smell the roses. So, with that, I'm going to leave you. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Allison Unfiltered. And please share this. I need this to get out more. So if you love this and you think this podcast is amusing or keeps you entertained or intriguing or whatever it may be, please share it. Please take the time to hit the share button and just say, hey, check out my friend. I would be really grateful for that. Anyway, you guys have a great day. I'm going to go eat a happy meal at my Nana and Pawpaw's table for the last time. So say some prayers for me. I don't ask for that often, but say some prayers for our family, because this is a very hard next 3 days. And say a prayer that she doesn't come back to haunt us for selling all her stuff. Okay, love you guys. Peace out, homies.